Hello everybody, this is Refresh and I'm here to bring you a battle between the Strixhaven Commander decks and the Face the Hydra Challenge deck from Theros. We have our 5 Commander decks here: Lorehold, Prismari, Quandrix, Silverquill, and Witherbloom. And we will be playing 2 games, first on normal difficulty and then on hard mode. And for these games we're going to be using 2 hero cards. We have the Warrior, which says tap target creature you control gains haste until end of turn, and the Harvester, which says tap draw a card then discard a card. Because we only have 1 copy of each of these cards, we're going to apply them to all of 5 decks simultaneously. We'll go ahead and get started by drawing our opening hands. Lorehold draws a Plains, Mountain, Combustible Gearhulk, Forgotten Cave, Steel Overseer, Monologue Tax, and Plains. Not an ideal opening hand, but we have a 2 and a 3 and things to do, so we'll keep this. Prismari draws an Arcane Signet, Epic Experiment, Zephi, Thunder Conductor, Mountain, Forgotten Cave, Desert of the Mindful, and Memorial to Genius. The lands are a little slow, but we have an Arcane Signet, and then we at least have Zephi to go with Veyran, Voice of Duality, so we will keep this. Quandrix draws a Soul Ring, Quandrix Cultivator, Island, Desolation Twin, Kodama's Reach, Sequence Engine, and Theoretical Duplication. I don't think we keep a one-lander because we have a couple green cards and we can get stuck really easily. So we're going to mulligan, and because this is multiplayer, we get 1 free mulligan. Quandrix draws a Tranquil Forest, Dika Fractal Theorist, Shamanic Revelation, Rite of Replication, Paradox Zone, Cassetto Urachi Archmage, and a Quandrix Campus. I don't like that we only have 2 lands, but I think that this is relatively keepable, and we'll hope that we can use the Harvester to get into the lands that we actually need here. Silverquill draws a Citadel Siege, Incarnation Technique, Spectral Searchlight, Knight of the White Orchid, Mikokoro Center of the Sea, Sunscorched Regent, and a Swamp. We cannot keep a one-lander, so we will mulligan this. Silverquill draws a Soul Snare, Knight of the White Orchid, Scholarship Sponsor, Plains, Utter End, and Mikokoro Center of the Sea. I wouldn't normally want to keep this particular hand because of the lack of black mana, but since 3 of our playable cards here are white, I think that's enough for us to keep this. Witherbloom draws a Rogue's Passage, Dina Soul Steeper, Myriad Landscape, Swamp, Eudora Grave Gardener, Deadly Tempest, and Sangromancer. We can't keep a hand that only has 1 of our colors that we need, and so we're going to mulligan this. And we have a Forest, Jungle Hollow, Swamp, Ancient Craving, Suffer the Past, Essence Pulse, and Pulse of Marasa. It's not an ideal start, but I think that we can still keep this and hope that we can draw into a little bit more action. Because this is multiplayer, we'll draw for our opening turn. Lorehold draws an Excavation Technique. Prismari draws an Island. Quandrix draws an Idol of Oblivion. Silverquill draws an Angel of Serenity. Witherbloom draws a Greed. Lorehold will play the Forgotten Cave. This land, it enters the battlefield tapped and tapped for red or cycle it for red. Prismari plays a Memorial to Genius. It's a land, it enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap for blue or pay 4. Blue, tap, sacrifice it to draw 2 cards. Quandrix plays a Quandrix Campus. This is a land, it enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap for green or blue, and you can pay 4, tap to scry 1. Silverquill will play a Plains and pass the turn. Witherbloom plays a Jungle Hollow. This is a land, it enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you gain 1 life. You can tap for black or green. We'll go up to 41. We'll go to the Hydra's first turn. We'll cast the top card. This is a Unified Lunge. It's a sorcery. It deals X damage to each player, where X is the number of heads on the battlefield. So the Hydra will deal 6 damage to each player when you add the Unified Lunge and the 3 heads combined, taking everybody but Witherbloom down to 34. Witherbloom will go down to 35. At the end of the Hydra's turn, we'll use the Harvester. Lorehold draws a Mountain, and we will discard the Monologue Tax. Prismari draws a Mage Ring Network, and we will discard the Island. Quandrix draws an Arcane Signet, and we will discard Cassetto Urachi Archmage. Silverquill draws a Plains, and we will discard Soul Snare. Witherbloom draws a Swamp, and we will discard Ancient Cravings. We'll untap. Lorehold draws an Ancient Den. Prismari draws a Ponder. Quandrix draws a Golden Ratio. Silverquill draws a Swamp. Witherbloom draws a Cultivate. Lorehold will play the Plains. We'll tap the Forgotten Cave and the Plains to play the Steel Overseer. This is a 1/1 artifact construct. You can tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on each artifact creature you control. Prismari plays a Mountain. We'll tap both of these to cast the Arcane Signet. It's an artifact. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. Quandrix will play a Tranquil Thicket. It's land, enters battlefield tapped. You can tap it for green or cycle it for green. Silverquill will play a Plains. We'll tap the Plains and cast Knight of the White Orchid. This is a 2/2 human knight with first strike. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent controls more lands than you, you may search your library for a Plains card, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle. Our opponent has 0 lands. Witherbloom will play a Swamp. We'll tap the Warrior to give all the creatures haste that just enter the battlefield this turn. And we'd rather just power up the Steel Overseer, so we'll tap the Steel Overseer to give it a +1/+1 counter. And then we'll pass to the Hydra. The Hydra casts the topmost card, which is Distract the Hydra. Each player may sacrifice a creature. Each player who sacrificed a creature this way chooses a head and taps it. Each player who didn't sacrifice a creature loses 3 life. So nobody's going to sacrifice a creature. And so we are all going to lose 3 life plus another 3 life. So we're taking another 6 damage, taking everybody down to 28 except for Witherbloom, who will be going down to 29. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Lorehold draws a Sanctum Gargoyle. And we will discard a Plains. Prismari draws a Blighted Cataract. And we will discard the Blighted Cataract. Quandrix draws a Ruxa Patient Professor. And we will discard Shamanic Revelation. Silverquill draws a Keen Duelist. And we will discard the Angel of Serenity. Witherbloom draws a Silver Smote Ghoul. And we'll discard Greed. We'll untap. Lorehold plays a Mountain. Prismari plays a Desert of the Mindful. This is a desert that enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap for blue or cycle it for 1 and a blue. We'll spend 3 mana and cast our commander, which is Veyran, Voice of Duality. This is a 2/2 legendary Ifrit wizard with Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And if casting or copying an instant or sorcery causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Quandrix will tap 2 and cast its own Arcane Signet. Silverquill will play a Swamp, tap 2 mana. And we'll cast the Keen Duelist. This is a 2/2 human lizard. At the beginning of your upkeep, you and target opponent each reveal the top card of your library. You lose life equal to the mana value of the card revealed by the other player, and you each put the card you revealed into your hand. Witherbloom will play a Forest. We'll tap out. We'll cast the Silver Smoke Ghoul. This is a 3/1 zombie vampire at the beginning of your end step. If you gain 3 or more life this turn, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. You can pay 1 and a black and sacrifice it to draw a card. We'll tap the Warrior to give all of the new creatures haste. The Duelist and the Knight will attack one of the Hydra heads. The Ghoul will attack another Hydra head. 2 Hydra heads die. They are 0/3 heads, and when it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 2 life. We'll first reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. No new heads. And then we'll gain 4 life apiece to go up to 32 each, except for Witherbloom, which will go up to 33. Then we'll pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra casts Groan for the stump. Put exactly 2 cards named Hydra head onto the battlefield from the Hydra's graveyard. If you can't reveal cards from the top of the Hydra's library until you reveal a head card, put that card onto the battlefield, and then the rest into the Hydra's graveyard. So we just killed 2, so they're going to come right back onto the battlefield. We'll take 3 damage apiece to go down to 29, except for Witherbloom will be at 30. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Lorehold draws a Boros Garrison, and we'll discard the Mountain. We'll also tap the Steel Overseer to give it another counter. Prismari draws a Fiery Encore, and we'll discard the Forgotten Cave. Quandrix draws an Island, and we will discard the Paradox Zone. Silverquill draws a Coveted Jewel, and we will discard the Coveted Jewel. Witherbloom draws a Noxious Gearhulk, and we will discard Self of the Past. We untap. Keen Duelist triggers during the upkeep. We reveal an elite scale guard. We're going to lose 5 life and go down to 24. I'll put it on our hand. The Hydra reveals a disorienting glower. It does not have a hand, so we'll just leave it on top. Lorehold will play the Boris Garrison. So the land enters the battlefield tapped, and when it enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. And you can tap it for red and white. Bounce back a mountain. Prismari will play the Mage Ring Network. It's a land. You can tap it for colors, pay 1 and tap it to put a storage counter on it. Tap it to remove any number of storage counters and add colorless for each storage counter removed this way. We'll tap 4 for Savai. Savai Thunder Conductor is a 1/4 legendary human shaman with Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, scry 1. If the spell mana's value is 5 or greater, create a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. If that spell's mana value is 10 or greater, it deals 10 damage to an opponent chosen at random. Go ahead and tap the Arcane Signet for blue and cast Ponder. This is a sorcery. Says look at the top 3 cards of your library and then put them back in any order you may shuffle. This will trigger Veyron, getting +1/+1. And this will also trigger Zavai, letting us scry 1. We look at the Hedron Archive and we will put it on the bottom of our library. This will trigger the scry again because of Veyron's ability, so we'll take a look at the next card, which is Brass's Bounty, and we'll stick that on the bottom as well. Quandrix will play the Long Missing Island. We'll tap 4 mana and cast Roxa, Patient Professor. This is a 4/4 legendary bear druid, and whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, return target creature with no abilities from your graveyard to your hand. That is not something that we have. Creatures you control with no abilities get +1/+1, and you may have creatures you control with no abilities assign the combat damage as though they weren't blocked. Silver Quill plays a Plains. We'll tap out. And cast a Scholarship Sponsor. This is a 3/3 human advisor, and when it enters the battlefield, each player who controls fewer lands and the player who controls the most lands searches the library for a number of basic lands less than or equal to the difference, puts those cards onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffles. So everybody's going up to 5. It's a forest and an island. Silver Quill plays a swamp. Little Bloom grabs a swamp and a forest. Okay, we're going to roll this back because I just realized that we counted the Arcane Signet for Prismari, so we're all going to go to 4. So we will take back the forest here. Silver Quill returns its swamp. Quandrix returns its forest. You know what? I'll actually go back to 5 because Witherbloom will have casted Cultivate, and so that'll get us all to 5. So we'll bring all these lands back. Prismari grabs a mountain. Silver Quill got its swamp back. Lorehold grabs a plains and a mountain. We'll assume that we will have played as though Witherbloom had cast Cultivate first before the Scholarship Sponsor was played. So we'll go ahead and cast Cultivate now. And this swamp will be the land that we played for turn. So it's a sorcery. Search the library for up to 2 basic lands. Reveal those cards. Put 1 onto the battlefield tapped and the other into your hand, then shuffle. So the swamp will go onto the battlefield tapped, and we'll search for a forest. Let's go onto our hand. We'll play a land for the turn. We'll tap the warrior to give all the new creatures haste, and we'll attack the heads. Veyron attacks one of the Hydra heads. The Scholarship Sponsor attacks the head, and the Silver Smoke Gould attacks another head. All 3 heads die. We'll reveal 6 cards to see if there are any new heads. There's 1 Hydra head. We'll each gain 6 life apiece to go up to 35, and with the bloom at 36. Also note that Silver Quill only goes up to 30. We'll pass to the Hydra. The Hydra casts Grow in front of the stump. Put those 2 Hydra heads back onto the Hydra's battlefield. And then we'll each take 3 damage, going down to 32 for these 3 decks, 33 for the blue, and 27 for Silver Quill. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Lorehold draws a Rogue's Passage. We'll discard the Rogue's Passage. Prismari draws a Traumatic Visions, and we'll discard the Traumatic Visions. Quandrix draws an Island, and we will discard the Golden Ratio. Silver Quill draws a Secret Rendezvous, and we'll discard the Mikokoro. Witherbloom draws a Revival Experiment. We will discard the Revival Experiment. Then we'll untap. At the end of the turn, we'll have also tapped the Steel Overseer to get another counter. During upkeep, Silverkill reveals Nil's Discipline Enforcer, puts it in their hand and loses 3 life to go down to 24. Lorehold draws a Meteor Golem. Prismari draws an Itali Primal Storm. Quandrix draws a Myriad Landscape. Silverquill draws a Swamp. Witherbloom draws a Vampire Nighthawk. Lorehold will play a Mountain. We'll tap out and cast a Combustible Gearhulk. It's a 6/6 artifact construct with first strike. When it enters the battlefield, target opponent may have you draw 3 cards. If the player doesn't, you mill 3 cards, and then it deals damage to the player equal to the total mana value of those cards. We get to choose for what to do for the Hydra, so we'll draw 3 cards. We draw a Mountain, a Lorehold Campus, and a Pianolar. Prismari will tap out and cast an Epic Experiment. This is a sorcery. Exile the top X cards of your library. You may cast instant or sorcery spells with mana value X or less from among them without paying their mana cost, and put all exiled cards that weren't cast into your graveyard. Casting this before we draw triggers Veyron, Voice of Duality. So we'll get a +1/+1, and then we will scry 1 off of Zephi. We'll put the island on the bottom, and then we'll do it again because of Veyron. We'll put Rayon of Fire Dancer on the bottom. We'll reveal 4 cards. We have a Pyromancer's Goggle, Faithless Looting, Diluvian Primordial, and Metallurgic Summonings. We will cast the Faithless Lootings, putting the rest in the graveyard. This is sorcery. It says draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. So we will draw a Aethergale and a Sly Instigator. Then we'll discard the Sly Instigator and a Tali Primal Storm. Casting this triggers Magecraft again. That'll make Veyron a 4/4, and then we'll scry twice. We will keep the Aethergale on top, and then repeat that. We'll draw the Aethergale. We'll draw the Sly Instigator. We'll discard the Tali Primal Storm and the Sly Instigator. Then we'll discard the Faithless Looting. Quandrix will play the Myriad Landscape. It's a land, enters the battlefield tapped. You can tap for colors or pay 2 and sack it to search your library for up to 2 basic land cards that share a land type. Put them onto the battlefield tapped and then shuffle. We'll tap the remaining mana that we have and cast Ezek's Fractal Bloom. This is a 4/4 legendary fractal with flying. The first time you create 1 or more tokens during each of your turns, you may instead choose a creature other than Ezek's and create that many tokens that are copies of the creature. Silverquill will play a Swamp. We'll spend 3 mana and cast Secret Rendezvous. It's a sorcery. You and target opponent each draw 3 cards. Since the Hydra can't have a hand, it can't draw cards, we'll draw 3. We'll draw a Curse of Disturbance, a Fracture, and a Temple of Silence. Alright, we'll tap 3 more mana and cast Curse of Disturbance, targeting the Hydra. This is an Aura Curse. Enchant player, whenever enchanted player is attacked, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Each opponent attacking that player does the same. Witherbloom will play a Swamp. We'll tap 5 mana and cast the commander, which is Gyo Master Chef. This is a 4/3 legendary Troll Warlock with Trample. At the beginning of your end step, create a number of food tokens equal to the number of non-token creatures you had enter the battlefield under your control this turn. You can pay 1 and sacrifice food to give target creature indestructible until end of turn and tap it. We'll tap the Warrior to give all the new creatures haste. We'll attack a Hydra Head with Veyron, and we'll get a zombie. Scholarship Sponsor will attack, and we'll get a zombie. Silver Smoke will attack, and we'll get a zombie. This defeats the Hydra Heads. We'll reveal 6 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are 2 new Hydra Heads. We'll each gain 6 life. The 3 decks here will go to 38. Witherbloom will go to 39. Silverquill goes to 30. We'll pass the turn to the Hydra. The Hydra will cast the topmost card. This is Distract the Hydra. We'll each lose 3 life and then another 2 life to lose 5 life apiece to go down to 33 here, 34 for Witherbloom, and 25 for Silverquill. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Lorehold draws a Dispeller's Capsule, and we will discard the Dispeller's Capsule. Prismari draws a Mountain, and we'll discard the Mountain. Quandrix draws a Biomathematician, and we will discard the Island. Silverquill draws an Orzhov Signet, and we'll discard the Orzhov Signet. Witherbloom draws a Sun Droplet. We'll discard the Pulse of Marasa. At the end of the turn, We'll just tap the Seal Overseer to add some more counters here. We'll untap. Lorehold draws a Secluded Step. Prismari draws a Talisman of Creativity. Quandrix draws a Temple of Mystery. Silverquill draws a Rogue's Passage. Witherbloom draws an Ezra Root Channeler. Lorehold will play the Ancient Den. It's a land. It's also an artifact and tap for white. Quandrix will play the Temple of Mystery. It's a land that enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, scry 1. You can tap it for green or blue. We'll take the Force and stick that on the bottom. Silverquill will play the Temple of Silence. It's a land that enters the battlefield tapped. When it enters the battlefield, you can scry 1. You can tap it for white or black. We'll scry. We'll take the Swamp and we'll stick that on the bottom. Silverquill will tap 4 mana and cast our commander. Felisa Fang of the Silverquill is a 3/2 legendary vampire wizard with flying mentor, and whenever a non-token creature you control dies, if you had counters on it, create X tapped 2/1 white, black, and black inkling creature tokens with flying, where X is the number of counters it had on it. We'll tap the warrior to give Felisa haste. Oh, we should have used the Keen Duelist ability, so we'll do that now. It's a plains. I'll put that in our hand, and then we will attack with the Keen Duelist and Felisa. This will trigger the Mentor ability and put a counter on Keen Duelist. Get another zombie for attacking. The Hydras die. We'll reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. Here's a single Shrieking Titan head. This is a 0/8 elite head. At the beginning of the Hydra's end step, each player discards a card, and when it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 4 life and draws a card. Alright, we will tap 7 mana here with Lorehold. We'll cast the Meteor Golem. This is a 3/3 artifact golem. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-land permanent opponent controls. That'll be the Shrieking Titan head. We'll each gain 4 life over here to go up to 37. Witherbloom will go up to 38, and Silverquill will go up to 29. Lorehold will tap out and cast Meteor Golem. This is a 3/3 artifact golem. When it enters the battlefield, destroy target non-land permanent opponent controls. That'll be the Shrieking Titan head. It goes down. We're going to reveal 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are new heads, and so the Strixhaven decks defeat the Hydra on normal difficulty. We'll be right back for hard mode. Alright, now it's time for hard mode. We have 4 Hydra heads assembled here, and we have switched our commanders to the Face Commander, except for Silverquill, because the Face Commander is no good against challenge decks, and so we will draw our opening hands. Lorehold draws a Boros Charm, 1000-Year Elixir, Mountain, Secret Rendezvous, Monologue Tax, Duplicant, and Audacious Reshapers. 1 lander is not going to do it, so we'll use our free mulligan and go for another hand. Now we have a Key to the City, Mountain, Ichor Wellspring, Pilgrim's Eye, Mountain, Steel Hellkite, and Slayer's Stronghold. I wouldn't normally keep a hand like this, but I think the redraws from the Ichor Wellsprings and the search for a plains from the Pilgrim's Eye keeps this a usable hand here, so keep this. Prismari draws a Mountain, Scavenging Grounds, Mountain, Exotic Orchard, Creative Technique, Brass's Bounty, and Blighted Cataract. There's 0 action in this, and so I don't know that I can keep this, especially since it's not doing anything for a long time. So we'll mulligan and try to get a more active hand here. Alright, now I have Serum Visions, Elemental Masterpiece, Myriad Landscape, Island, Brass's Bounty, Fiery Fall, and Charm Breaker Devils. I wouldn't normally keep a hand like this because of the lack of lands, but the Serum Visions helps us to fix in the future turns, and if we can just get 1 more land, then the Myriad Landscape can crack for the rest of the mountains, and so I think we're going to keep this hand as risky as it is. Quandrix draws a Geometric Nexus, Desolation Twin, Forgotten Ancient, Novigen Heart of Progress, Opal Palace, Forest, and Return of the Wildspeaker. This doesn't have a lot of early action. However, I guess the Geometric Nexus can get us something. But you know what? I don't think that's quite enough to keep this hand. So we're going to mulligan this and hope to get a little bit more early action. Now we have another Geometric Nexus, Lumbering Falls, Rapid Hybridization, Kaseto Orachi Archmage, Shamanic Revelations, Incubation Druid, and Opal Palace. This is not ideal, but I think we can keep it off the Incubation Druid helping us ramp, and we can hope to use the Harvester to find the other cards that we need. Silver Quill draws an Oblation, Swamp, Opal Palace, Fracture, Bloodthirsty Braid, Soul Ring, and Selfless Squire. I think we're going to keep this off the power of the Soul Ring. We can't really cast any of the white cards, which is going to prove to be a problem. But hopefully we can loot into what we need. Just the Soul Ring is the big draw here. Witherbloom draws a Greed, Essence Pulse, Forest, Nissa's Renewal, Bloodthirsty Aerialist, Sapling of Colfiner, and Gaze of Granite. We cannot keep a one-lander, so we're going to mulligan using our free mulligan. Now we have an Ezreal Channeler, Blight Mound, Blossoming Bog Beast, Golgari Rock Farm, Forest, Swamp, and Forest. This is a really slow hand, but I think we have to keep this on the virtue of at least having lands and things to do. So we're going to keep this one. Lorehold draws a Solemn Simulacrum. Prismari draws an Aether Spouts. Quandrix draws an Arashi, the Sky Asunder. Silver Quill draws a Plains. Witherbloom draws a Rampant Growth. Lorehold will play a Mountain. Prismari will play an Island. We'll tap the island to cast Serum Visions. This is a sorcery. Draw a card, then scry 2. We'll draw a Stormkiln Artist. We'll look at the next two cards, which are an Elementalist Palette and a Blasphemous Act. Both of those do not get me the mana I need, so we're going to stick this on the bottom. Quandrix will play a Lumbering Falls. This is a land and it's battlefield tapped. You can tap for a green or a blue. You can pay 2 green and blue, and it becomes a 3/3 green and blue elemental creature with hexproof until end of turn. It's still a land. Silver Quill will play the Plains. We'll tap the Plains to cast this Soul Ring. This is an artifact. You can tap it for 2 colorless. We'll tap it for 2 colorless, and we'll play the Bloodthirsty Blade. This is a artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+0 and is goaded. You can pay 1 to attach it to target creature on opponent controls. Activate only as a sorcery. Witherbloom will play a Forest. Then we'll go to the Horde's turn. The Horde will cast the topmost card, which is a Hydra Head. We have 5 Hydra Heads assembled. Each player will take 5 damage, taking them down to 35 each. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Lorehold draws a Dispatch, and we will discard the Key to the City. Prismari draws a Crackling Drake, and we'll discard the Aether Spouts. Quandrix draws a Myriad Landscape, and we will discard the Rabid Hybridization. Silver Quill draws an Infernal Offering, and we will discard the Infernal Offering. Witherbloom draws a Marshland Bloodcaster, and we'll discard the Marshland Bloodcaster. We'll untap. Lorehold draws a Burnished Tart. Prismari draws a Blighted Cataract. Quandrix draws a Forest. Silver Quill draws a Fane the Broker. Witherbloom draws a Radiant Fountain. Lorehold will play another Mountain. We'll tap out and we'll cast Ichor Wellspring. It's an artifact. When it enters the battlefield or is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card. We draw a Sanctum Gargoyle. Prismari will play the Myriad Landscape. Quandrix will play the Forest. We'll tap both of these and cast the Incubation Druid. This is a 0/2 Elf Druid. You can tap it for 1 mana of any type that a land you can control could produce. If it has a +1/+1 counter on it and 3 mana of that type instead, you pay 3 green and adapt 3. Silver Quill will play the Swamp. We're going to hold up the Selfless Squire. Witherbloom will play the Swamp. We'll tap both of these and we'll cast Rampant Growth. This is a sorcery. It says search your library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. So we'll grab a Swamp. Now we'll go to the Hydra's turn. The Hydra casts Distract the Hydra. So we're all going to lose 3 life right now, going down to 32 each. And then the Hydra Head will do 5 damage to each player, and we will all go down to 27, except for Silver Quill. Before damage is applied, Silver Quill will tap out and cast Selfless Squire. This is a 1/1 human soldier with flash. When it enters the battlefield, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn. Whenever damage that would be dealt to you is this way is prevented, put any +1/+1 counters on Selfless Squire. And so not only will we not have gone down to 35, but we will get a total of 8 counters on the Selfless Squire. This makes it a 9/9. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Lorehold draws an Exotic Orchard, and we will discard the Burnished Heart. Prismari draws an Inspiring Refrain, and we will discard the Fiery Fall. Quandrix draws a Forest, and we will discard Shamanic Revelation. Silverquill draws a Plains, and we will discard the Oblation. Witherbloom draws a Swamp, and we will discard the Swamp. We'll untap. Lorehold draws a Duplicant. Prismari draws a Desert of the Mindful. Quandrix draws a Simic Growth Chamber. Silverquill draws a Brina the Demagogue. Witherbloom draws a Command Tower. Lorehold will play the Slayer's Stronghold, which is a land you can tap for colorless, and for white and red you can tap it for a target creature to get +2/+0 and gains Vigilance and Haste until end of turn. We're going to tap all three of these, and we'll cast the Pilgrim's Eye. This is a 1/1 artifact Thopter with flying, and when it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle, grabbing your planes. Prismari will play the Blighted Cataract. This is a land you can tap it for colorless and pay 5 and a blue and tap it and sacrifice it to draw 2 cards. We're going to tap both the Blighted Cataract and the island for mana, and then use the Myriad Landscapes ability. We're going to sacrifice it and get 2 mountains. We're going to tap out and cast Cassetto Orochi Archmage. This is a 2/2 legendary snake wizard with green and blue. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. If that creature is a snake, it gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Then we're going to play the Simic Growth Chamber, picking up a forest. This is a land. It enters the battlefield tap. When it enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. You can tap for green and blue. Silverquill will play the plains. Witherbloom will tap 3 and play the Blight Mound. This is an enchantment. Attacking pests you control, get +1/+0 and have Menace. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. And then we will play the Golgari Rot Farm. It's a land, enters the battlefield tap. When it enters the battlefield, return a land you control to its owner's hand. You can tap for black and green. We'll bounce 1 of the swamps back into our hands. We're going to tap out, and we will cast Felisa, Fang of Silverquill. With the remaining mana, we were going to attach the Bloodthirsty Blade to the Pilgrim's Eye. There's the blade. We're going to tap the warrior to give all of the new creatures haste, and we're going to swing with the Pilgrim's Eye into one of the Hydra heads, the Selfless Squire into another one, and Felisa into another one. The Mentor ability does not trigger. We defeat 3 heads. We'll gain 6 life apiece to take the non-Silverquill decks up to 33, and Silverquill will go up to 41. We'll reveal 6 cards to see if there are any new heads. No new heads. We're going to go to the Hydra's turn. Hydra casts Swallow the Hero Whole. Each player exiles a creature he or she controls until the Hydra's next turn. When a head leaves the battlefield, return the exiled cards to the battlefield under their owner's control. Lorehold will exile the Pilgrim's Eye. The Bloodthirsty Blade will return to Silverquill. Quandrix will exile Cassetto. Silverquill will exile Felisa. At the end of the turn, we'll use the Harvester. Lorehold draws a Route, and we will discard the Exotic Orchard. Prismari draws a Diluvian Primordial, and we will discard the Diluvian Primordial. Quandrix draws an Essex Fractal Bloom, and we will discard the Myriad Landscape. Silverquill draws a Tainted Field, and we will discard Brina the Demagogue. Witherbloom draws a Silver Smoke Ghoul. We will discard the Silver Smoke Ghoul. We'll untap. Lorehold draws a Monologue Tax. Prismari draws an Island. Quandrix draws a Study Hall. Silverquill draws a Plains. Witherbloom draws a Gift of Paradise. Lorehold will play a Plains. We're going to tap everything, and we'll cast Osgir the Reconstructor. This is a 4/4 legendary giant artificer with vigilance. You can pay 1 and sacrifice an artifact. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 until end of turn. You can pay X, tap, exile artifact with mana value X from your graveyard. Create 2 tokens that are copies of that exile card. Activate only as a sorcery. Prismari will play an island. I'll tap the 4 colored lands and cast a Crackling Drake. This is a star 4 Drake with flying. Its power is equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards you own in exile and graveyard, and when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. will draw a Soul Ring. We have 3 instants and sorceries in the graveyard, and so it will be a 3/4. We'll tap the Blighted Cataract and cast the Soul Ring. Quandrix will play the Forest, will tap out and cast Arashi, Sky Asunder. This is a 5/5 legendary spirit. For X in green, you can tap it to deal X damage to target creature with flying. You can channel it for X green to and discard it to deal X damage to each creature with flying. Silver Quill will play a Tainted Field. This is a land you can tap for colorless, or you can tap it for white or black. Activate only if you control a swamp. We'll tap the Swamp and the Soul Ring to play Fane the Broker. This is a 3/3 legendary human warlock. You can tap it to sacrifice a creature to put 2+1/+1 counters on a target creature. You can tap it, remove a counter from a creature that you control to create a treasury token. You can tap it to sacrifice an artifact to create a 2/1 white and black Inkling creature token with flying, and you can tap 3 and a black to untap Fane the Broker. With the Bloom, we'll play the Command Tower. It's a land. You can tap it to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. We'll tap out and cast the Blossoming Bog Beast. This is a 3/3 beast, and whenever it attacks, you gain 2 life. Then creatures you control gain trample and get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. We'll tap the Warrior to give all the new creatures haste. Then we'll go to combat. We'll swing with Osgir, the Reconstructor, at one of the Hydra heads. The Blossoming Bog Beast will attack the other Hydra head. With the Wound, we'll gain 2 life to go up to 35, and the Bog Beast will get +2/+2 to become a 5/5. This defeats the 2 heads. We'll reveal 4 cards to see if there are any new heads. We have a Snapping Fang head. This is a 0/8 elite head. At the beginning of the Hydra's end step, it deals 1 damage to each player, and when it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 4 life and draws a card. We have Ravenous Brute head. This is a 0/6 elite head, and when it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 2 life and draws a card. We have a Hydra head. We'll each gain 4 life. The 3 decks over here will go up to 37. Silver Quill will go up to 45. Wither Wound goes up to 39. These creatures will return to the battlefield. Lorehold gets the Pilgrim's Eye back. We'll search for another Plains. Quandrix gets back Cassetto. Silver Quill gets back Felisa. We'll tap a Plains to reattach the Bloodthirsty Blade to the Pilgrim's Eye. Blade is reattached. We go to the Hydra's turn. The Hydra will cast the topmost card. This is a Noxious Hydra Breath. Choose one. It deals 5 damage to each player or destroy each tapped non-head creature. I think we can afford to just take the damage here. These 2 decks will go down to 32, and then we'll take an additional 6 damage from the other heads for a total of 11 damage, taking these decks down to 26. Silver Quill will go down to 34. Wither Bloom goes down to 28. We should have discarded a card at the end of Lorehold's turn, so we will discard the Monologue Tax. Then we'll use the Harvester. Lorehold will draw a Chain Reaction, and we will discard the Rout. Prismari draws a Rousting Refrain, and we will discard the Rousting Refrain. Quandrix draws an Oran Reef, the Vastwood, and we will discard the Forest. Silver Quill draws an Orzhov Advocate, and we'll discard the Fracture. Wither Bloom draws a Forest, and we'll discard a Forest. We'll untap. Lorehold draws a Plains. Prismari draws a Riona Fire Dancer. Quandrix draws a Temple of Mystery. Silver Quill draws a Duelist Heritage. Wither Bloom draws an Epicure of Blood. Lorehold will play a Plains. Prismari will play the Desert of the Mindful. Prismari will tap 4 mana and cast Stormkiln Artist. This is a 2/2 Dwarf Shaman, and it gets +1/+0 for each artifact you control. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, create a treasure token. We have 1 artifact, so it is a 3/2. We'll play the Opal Palace. This is a land. You can tap it for colors, or pay 1 and tap to add 1 mana of any color in your commander's color identity. If you spend this mana to cast your commander, it enters the battlefield with a number of additional +1/+1 counters on it, equal to the number of times it's been cast from the command zone in this game. We're going to tap 2 mana to cast the Geometric Nexus. This is an artifact. Whenever a player casts an instant or sorcery spell, put a number of charge counters on it equal to that spell's mana value, and for 6, tap remove all charge counters from it. create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the number of charge counters removed this way. Then we'll tap forward using the Opal Palace's ability to cast our commander, Adrix and Nev, Twin Casters. This is a 2/2 legendary Merfolk Wizard with Ward 2. If one or more tokens would be created under your control this turn, twice that many tokens are created instead. Needed to tap that last one for the last mana. Silver Quill will play the Plains. Adrix should have entered the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter, because it's been cast one time so far. Silver Quill will spend 3 mana and cast the Orzhov Advocates. This is a 1/4 human advisor at the beginning of upkeep. Each player may put 2 +1/+1 counters on a creature they control. If a player does, creatures that player controls can't attack you or planeswalkers you control until your next turn. We'll also spend 3 mana and cast the Duelist Heritage. This is an enchantment. It says, whenever one or more creatures attack, you may have target attacking creature gain double strike until end of turn. Witherbloom will play a Forest. We'll tap out. Cast the Ezreal Channeler. It's a 4/6 Treefolk Druid with Reach. Creature spells you cast cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. You tap to gain 2 life. We'll tap the Warrior to give all of the new creatures haste. We'll go to combat, and the Duelist Heritage will put its trigger onto Felisa, Fang of Silver Quill, who will attack the Ravenous Brutehead with Double Strike. The Selfless Squire will attack the Snapping Fanghead, and the Orzhov Advocates will also attack, getting the Mentor trigger from Felisa, becoming a 2/4. The Blossoming Bog Beast will also attack the 3/3. It'll become a 5/5 because of its trigger ability, and Witherbloom will go up to 30. This is enough damage to defeat all 3 creatures. We'll reveal 6 cards to see if there are any new heads. There's a single Savage Figurehead. There's a 0/8 Elite Head at the beginning of the Hydra's end step. Reveal the top card of the Hydra's library and the Hydra cast that card. When it leaves the battlefield, each player gains 4 life and draws a card. We're going to gain 8 life and draw 2 cards apiece. These 3 decks are going to go up to 34. Silver Quill will go up to 42. Witherbloom goes up to 38. Lorehold draws a Ruin Grinder and a Darksteel Citadel. Prismari draws a Letter of Acceptance and a Blasphemous Act. Quandrix draws a Plaxcaster Frogling and a Spitting Image. Silver Quill draws a Ghostly Prison and a Secret Rendezvous. Witherbloom draws a Greed and a Witherbloom Campus. We're going to spend 4 mana, cast a Solemn Simulacrum. It's a 2/2 artifact golem. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, put that card onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle. When it dies, you may draw a card. Now we control 3 artifacts. We'll tap the Last Plains and cast Dispatch. This is an instant. You can tap target creature, and with Metalcraft, if you control 3 or more artifacts, exile that creature. So we'll be exiling the Savage Figurehead. We will mill the next 2 cards to see if there are any new heads. There are no new heads, and so the Strixhaven commander decks defeat the Hydra on hard mode with lots of breathing room. Let me know what you thought about the games in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of my videos, you can hit subscribe. This is Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.